Okay, this is the fourth screencast for chapters 14 and 15. And looking at this slide, we're just kind of discussing the idea of irrigation, different ways we can use irrigation. So some better ways that we could use these would be, one is these center pivot sprinklers. So if you've ever been in a plane before and you look down, you might see those kind of rounded out areas anywhere across the Midwest, and usually it's like a square and then you see a round circle in the middle. These are these center pivot sprinklers, and they're really kind of interesting as far as how they go through there. You just have that circle of a sprinkler that slowly works its way going in a circle. A much more efficient method, and we'll look at these a little bit more later on, is this drip irrigation, where it really puts the water where it needs to be. All of these ones we're looking at here are ways that we could save water. Consumers should pay the true cost of the water as far as how everything that goes into the processing and how it actually comes to the homeowner. So trying to eliminate subsidies is another thing that we should look at. Okay. Sliding along. And again, these are all things that we could do to save water, and you can kind of just read through these on your own. We'll just kind of highlight a few. Showers. Showers is a really big usage of water. Showers and toilet flushings is quite a bit. There's certain things that we could do as far as low flush or low flow shower heads. Those are both something that could really cut down on the usage, and it's not terribly expensive. What you're changing is really just increasing pressure for flow. So normally in a normal house you have a high flow, but if you reduce the flow but increase the pressure, it's a trade-off, and it works out pretty well. So it's something else that we could look at if we're trying to reduce our water usage. And this is just kind of a comparison as far as the amount of water places have in comparison to their population. So blue is how much water a location has in respect to its population. So Asia, as we know, is a relatively high population, and they have a decent amount of water. But there's only a couple places in this listings here, North and South America, we have a higher amount of water than the land that we actually have, or excuse me, our population. Oceania too, but that's really small. So that's kind of a good position to be in. So that's why we don't think a whole lot about water, is because we have quite a bit in comparison to Asia, Africa, and Europe. So we're doing pretty well in that regards. So as far as where we find water, of course, it cycles through in the water cycle. What doesn't actually just run off into surface water sinks and goes into groundwater. And then we're looking at how we use it. So again, this is where we need to have the discussion as far as conservation. So a lot of our water goes into irrigation. The vast majority of it goes into irrigation. And interesting, and we'll probably talk about this more in another chapter, but a lot of it, as you can see here, goes into irrigation for agriculture. And actually a lot of that agriculture is corn, and a lot of that corn goes into meat. So we water a lot, or we use a lot of our water for meat. So if we ate less meats, we could save a lot of water. And then of course a lot of it goes into electricity production and other industries. And actually a small amount, which is what we actually see, is used in the house. So you can save water a lot in the house, but you're not really getting as much bang for the buck by turning off the sink when you brush your teeth. Yeah, we feel better about it, but really where the water savings is at is this agricultural end, which I was talking about earlier. So industry, it's in cooling equipment. So for example, electricity production, coal-fired power plants, nuclear power plants, a lot of water is used for that. Just looking at, I'll stay over here. Looking at precipitation comparatively, so the annual average precipitation, And interesting, I would have thought that where we live would be a little bit higher. We're right on that edge, but we're kind of on the low end in comparison to, you know, a lot of the rest of the country. So all of these areas get a little more rain than we do. You know, we know about Florida and Louisiana, but yeah, we're actually a little on the low side. And the way I have this kind of set up here, we don't see all of the little parts down here that we have here. But this is talking about shortages, places that have shortages of water. What's not seen on this slide here is the purple areas are areas that have a large amount of people, so more than 1 million people in that area. And we actually have what would be considered an adequate supply of water. Yellow is areas that they're having a shortage, and this is kind of what we would expect in the west here. They have a lot of, so you have deserts for one. You have mountains in a good chunk of this area as well. But the interesting part is there's an aquifer, a huge aquifer over here, the Ogallala, I believe it is called, Ogallala water aquifer, and it's the largest aquifer in the world, but it's being drained faster than we can replace it, and we'll mention that a little more here in a few minutes. This is what we were talking about in the beginning with these countries having issues with water, and we do have some version of it here in the United States as well. So as it mentions here, we have 17 western states with the water shortage we just saw in the previous slide, that they're potentially going to be having some issues in the future in regards to that water. You can kind of take a look here at some locations that might have some problems. So this going along with what we were mentioning here earlier, 41% of the world's population lives in places that do not have enough fresh water. So this is again becoming a bit of a problem. So what do we do? Well, one thing is, like, you know, we've been over pumping these aquifers, but that's a limited amount. So we're going to have to get better at conservation. Otherwise, some places, not necessarily us here in Michigan, but some places are going to have an issue in regards to water usage. And this is that discussion we were having early on in the beginning of the water section, as far as locations in Africa, the Nile, and of course the Middle East with the Tigris and Euphrates, that they have some issues with water based on the number of people and the flow availability of water. This is the Ogallala Aquifer that we mentioned earlier, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Ogallala. The world's largest aquifer. It's really, really big, and it's been there for a long time. But we consider it non-renewable. So, for example, the recharge, which means the amount of water going back into it, is slow compared to the amount of water we're taking out of it. So that's a problem. It's not going to last forever. And this kind of shows, you know, that aquifer is in somewhere in this area here, and it shows, for example, you know, where they're taking it out. And if you look at these areas, you know, us living here in Michigan, we don't necessarily think of it, but they do a lot of cattle ranching in the west. You know, all of this area here is a lot of cattle ranching, and it uses a lot of water. It's very, very dry in these areas. So they use a lot of water for, one, to produce the crops, and two, to give to the cattle. So a bit of a problem. All right. Next one, which gets into this issue as far as well draw. We do have some of this here in Michigan. Is you have an established water table, and what they're showing in this picture here is the water table is supposed to be up here. So there's a drawdown, or the table has been lowered from overusage. So these people here, for example, they have a well, and their potential problem is that they've been overusing the water so much that the water level has dropped below, and soon, based on the drawdown, when this well kicks on, that well is going to run dry, and they're going to have to drill a new, deeper well to find water eventually. Another potential problem is for these people over here. they're having this water, seawater, which of course has a salt content, is being drawn towards the well, and they're going to have this intrusion of water coming into their fresh water, and now they're going to be irrigating with salt water sooner or later. And when you have a mixture of salt water and fresh water together, it gets the term brackish water, and again, that's from that intrusion of salt water into the fresh water, which of course has a low salt content. All right, this one here is a decent picture I found that gets into the idea of what a flowing well is. So what we're looking at here is you have a water table, and that's confined in this barrier here. So we have this water table listed here, and this is the height of the water. So this is kind of like the height the water is going to flow in here. And so this well sitting here, that really shouldn't be Artesian. This one here, well, okay, fine. It's Artesian coming out of this side. Nope, get rid of that. This side, if it happens to be flowing out, but the Artesian or flowing well would be this guy right over here, because it is below the water level, so they have tapped into a pressurized water source, and therefore it's kind of like a spring. It's shooting right out of this location there. This one here, as long as the wellhead, the pipe here, is below this level, which you already established, we're good. It's not a flowing well. But the water level is going to be sitting at that level right there. So they have to make sure the wellhead is higher than the water level. Sinkholes. This is really interesting. We may do an activity on this later on, but based on drawing off the water, so this was the ground level right here once upon a time, and there was a water level inside here. I don't know exactly to what level it was at, but let's just say for argument that the water level was up in here. You have soil and water, so the soil acts as like a sponge, and the water stays in this area. Well, they've been drawing down on that water table for years and years and years, and eventually the water's gone, and then you have what you could think of as an empty sponge with all these air pockets within, just like a sponge. And over a long period of time, they'll start to compress, and then given some weight above, it collapses. So this would be the collapse of what was, the soils above. So you have this void in there, and then, it's open. So this is a nice example of a huge sinkhole. This we were just mentioning earlier is kind of a sum up of what some of our potential problems are with water usage. So what are some solutions, and what are some controls that we could do? So a nice easy thing to say is, well, we could just waste less water, or we could raise the price on water to discourage usage. And you can read through those, just some of those ideas. All right, the quick break we're going to take here. We've been going for way too long, and I think we'll get to a point where we can probably finish this up in the last lecture.